All right, hello guys. So my name is Chris Bashev. I'm an intern here at Wake, and we're gonna go over exercise method called interval training. I really want this to be kind of a discussion. So if you have any questions, please ask me, and if you need any further clarification, just ask me anytime. Also, the sheets for all of this is in the bottom right-hand corner. So if you miss anything or want to keep a document, they're right there at the bottom for a lot of them. So can everyone hear me fine? In general, can everyone see me? Is there any problems? When you type in anything, does it work too? Perfect. All right. All right, cool. Let's get started. So, interval training. I'm going to go over like the efficiency and how you can apply it and my personal experience with it. Let's get started. So for those of you who don't know what interval training is, it's basically what this picture shows. It's a really good picture to show it. It's a type of cardiovascular training that emphasizes those short, intense periods of exercise and then is followed by those longer periods of recovery. So for this example, it's going over a sprint. So that longer period of recovery would be a jog, where that short, intense period would be a sprint. So you sprint for a minute and then jog for 3 minutes. So you're allowing your heart rate to go up and still stay high because you're jogging. You're not resting completely, so you're still keeping those heart rate benefits up. And then how does it work? So like I said before, it's those work and recovery intervals. And they express it in a ratio that's work to recovery. So like I said, that work period is the time that you're actually doing the exercise, and the recovery interval is when you're resting, but you're not like lying down, you're not sitting. It's just a lower intensity version of the exercise you're doing. So, like I said, if you're doing a sprint and your work to recovery ratio is 1 to 5, that sprint, which is that work interval, will be for 10 seconds, and that walk will be for 50 seconds. But I don't want to get too caught up in what ratio is the best and what ratio you should do, but you just kind of want to focus on your ability level and how you can mold it to yourself. The most important thing is to listen to your body and just to not push yourself too much, because these are intense exercises. These are very difficult, and if you do too much, you might hurt yourself. If you go too little, you're not going to get the benefits. So in general, when you have a higher recovery period, you're going to allow more rest for yourself. When you have so like 1 to 5, you're doing 50 seconds of rest. Where if that's too easy for you, you could do 1 to 2, so you only have 20 seconds of rest in that example. So something you really want to focus on is kind of having a really good warm up period before this. Because this is an intense exercise, that warm up will really help lubricate those joints, get that heart rate up. Because if you don't get your heart rate up before, your heart rate will just skyrocket right away in those work intervals. And you want to have a gradual build before the actual exercise. And you want to have a cool down. So a cooldown is really underrated and not talked about or emphasized, which is a shame because it really helps you. For example, after a workout, all of that blood. Oh, no sound from Maria. I'm sorry, I didn't see that. You can't hear anything, Maria? Hmm. You might want to check if your mute is on or any volume. Can't my end, mine's and everything. Hmm, sometimes. So is it going in and out? Hmm, I'm sorry, guys. Okay. 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 Yeah. Not sure what the problem is. Everyone else can hear me, I believe. Um, you check the volume, or I'm not sure to be honest. Um, but like I was saying, for cooldown, you wanna since your work intervals are gonna get you at such a high heartbeat, you're not gonna want to stop completely. It's not healthy for the heart. You want to have it go gradually down. So having a nice cooldown will help you avoid getting faint or dizziness. So that's also very important. And stretching. Always stretch after so you can because with these workouts you're gonna be working on your muscle a little bit, so stretching will help relieve some of the tension and tightness that can be associated with it. So has anyone done anything similar to this? Sorry, I was just asking her about that. But yes, okay, so I'm sure like if you have any kind of running routine or a lot of classes do these kind of things, which we'll talk about later on too. So the $1 million question of why it works. To be honest, they don't fully understand. It seemed like it got cut off a little bit on the PowerPoint. Oh well, but they believe that it's the called the afterburn effect, and it's the calories you continue to burn after exercise. So with any exercise, you are still burning a little bit of calories even after. It's kind of your body trying to catch up with what happened, basically. So with HIT, it says HIT workout on this graph, which is basically high intensity interval training. And that is interval training just with high intensity, which is what I'm going to be talking about today. It's just another way to say it. But it's also interval training can be less intense than high intensity. So you can really it really varies based on how hard you want to go. So the calories you burn after exercise, and it is important because this kind of training gets and keeps your heart rate up, and it will burn more fat in less time. So it increases the body's need for oxygen, and it kind of creates an oxygen shortage. So when you're like out of breath and gasping for air at the end of like an intense workout, that's kind of what it's getting at. So even after that, your body is still trying to recover from that intense exercise. So that whole time after, you're burning calories to try and get back to your normal state to recover. Okay, and so basically, the more strenuous, the more difficult the exercise is, the longer the afterburn effect is. So that doesn't mean that you don't want to use afterburn as a reason to go all out with these exercises to like kill yourself just so you can burn more calories after. That's not healthy. It's not safe, and you want to be safe and work up to that kind of intensity. And so the reason that you only want to do this 1 to 3 times per week, sorry, all these got cut off a little bit, but it can only be performed 1 to 3 times per week. You really want to start doing it 1 time per week. It really can also depend on your activity level, though. You just want to be cautious because it is very taxing on the nervous system and the muscles, and it does take a long time to recover from. So, because of that, you want to start off slow and then build up to it. Really listen to your body and try to have enough recovery. Okay, so way to tell, you might have seen this basically in our clinic and everything. It's called the RPE, it's the rate of perceived exertion. So it we ask you how do you feel, where are you on this scale? One being doing nothing, 10 being the hardest thing you've ever done. So with this kind of exercise, with interval training, you don't want to feel like you're at a 10. You don't want to feel like it's the hardest thing you've ever done. You don't want to push yourself to that level because then it will get dangerous. You want to feel like you're within the 7 to 8 range. So it is very difficult. It is difficult, and you're trying your best. With those recovery intervals, you want to stay within that 2 to 4 range. So it's really easy to the moderate range. You do, even in those recovery periods, you want to push yourself a little bit, but it's still recovery. You're still trying to recover from those intense work intervals, which are again at that 7 to 8 range. And another way kind of to tell is called a talk test. So with moderate activity, you're able to perform the exercise and you're able to talk during it, but you can't sing. So you can test this out by yourself in the gym, sing it all you want and see if it works. And vigorous activity is you're doing the exercise, but you can't keep a conversation. You can't talk. You're really trying to get your breath back and you're just focused on that activity. So the moderate activity, which is the one where you can't sing, you're usually in that 4 to 6 range on the RPE scale. And with the vigorous activity, you're within the 7 to 8, 9 range on the perceived exertion scale. So as you guys may know, with those guidelines that we say 150 minutes per week of aerobic activity that we kind of drill into your brains, a lot of time people miss the part where it says or 75 minutes of vigorous physical activity. So with interval training, you can kind of just if maybe you don't like doing moderate activity or you want to integrate more vigorous activity to cut it in half, you can just put in those 75 minutes of vigorous physical activity and you'll be able to hit those guidelines, those recommendations. So if you maybe don't like going off something so objective as those scales and everything, you want a more concrete guideline, I can help you with that. Here is the target heart rate. So I did an example of mine. So first, before getting the target heart rate, you have to get the max heart rate. All the max heart rate is the number 220 minus your own age. So for me, that was 198 beats per minute. That's my maximum heart rate. That's the maximum beats per minute that I will have, most likely. It's not completely accurate and everything, but it is a really good estimate. So I also showed another example with someone who is 60 years old. Their beats per minute will be a little lower at 160. So having that information, you can then have your target heart rate. This is really something that you can use in the gym if you have a pedometer, or, well, maybe not a pedometer, but a Fitbit, Apple Watch, or even those silver bars at the gym that, on treadmills and ellipticals, even bikes. Some bikes have it where you put your hands around it and it records your heart rate and tells you what your heart rate is. So you can kind of use those to guide you through. So for those work intervals, those more intense intervals, you're going to have a higher heart rate. You want to stay within that 75 to 85% range of your max heart rate. So like for mine, my max heart rate was 198. I'll do 0.75 times that to get the lowest heart rate I can have for those work intervals. And for the highest heart rate for those intervals, I'll just do 0.85 times 198. And so that shows for my work intervals, I just want to stay within that range. For those rest intervals, it's 50 to 65. So you'll just do the same thing that you would math-wise for those rest intervals. And my rest intervals, I'll stay within that 99 to 129 beats per minute. So you can see that there's quite a variation, and you do want to stay within it, but you also want to listen to your body. And if it's too hard, you want to just, regardless of the number, tone it down a little bit. Does anyone want help computing this or calculating it or anything? All I need is an age, and we can do one as an example if anyone would like. Okay, we'll go to the next slide. So here's exactly what I was saying before, and it's just another visual representation showing you, like if your age is right there on there, you can just see your max heart rate, see where 50% would be. 50% is basically, the target heart rate. So 50 to 65%, remember, was that rest period, and 75 to 85% was that work interval period. So you can kind of find your own age if it's on there and have a quick little cheat sheet if you'd like. So another visual representation. For those rest intervals, you kind of want to think of it as moderate activity. It's kind of like a warm-up period. It feels like a warm-up, the pace that you're going at, and up to that weight control fitness training period. And then that work intervals in the 75 to 85% range, where that's cardio endurance training to hardcore training. So then it also shows the exercise zones, the ages, and the percentage of how hard you're going in those zones. It can help for you if you'd like. So the big question is, what is the difference between these kind of exercises? And first kind of idea that can help you visualize it, the concept, is walking in general. So when we're doing a long distance walking, it's really lower body reliant. We're not using our arms to pump too much. We're not even using our core that much as if we're going to do a fast running. So when we're running as fast as we can, it's still very lower body reliant, but you're also using more of your core. You're pumping your arms more. It's more stressful on your cardiac system. So you're able to use your whole body while also having that those aerobic benefits. So in other words, you're with that interval training, you're using all of your muscles in your body because your brain is literally telling you, you got to pick up the speed, you got to pick it up, we got to fire all those muscles that we have. So you're gonna naturally just try and fire everything you got when you're in those work periods. So because of that, you're gonna just use more of your muscles. You're gonna demand more for your muscles, and because of that, your muscles will respond and they'll hopefully grow. A study that showed that is that 27 minutes of interval training 3 times per week produced the same amount of aerobic improvement as 60 minutes of steady state cardio 5 times per week. So exactly half the amount of time show the same results as a steady state cardio. And we also see this with marathon runners and sprinters. Although we might not be professional marathon runners or sprinters in the future, you can kind of see how their body compositions vary. So you see a sprinter, someone like Jesse Owens or whoever, and they have a good amount of like very a lot of muscle, and very little fat. When you look at the marathon runner, there's very little muscle and there's very little fat. So this is really important for our patients here, especially because you're going to be on caloric deficits. You're going to lose a ton of fat, and you most likely are going to lose some muscle or maintain muscle. So with interval training, you can still lose fat. You can still, get those cardio benefits, but you can also gain that muscle or maintain that muscle way better with interval training. That is showed with studies, and I'll show you some more studies later on. But that is the big takeaway. It's that we can really have the best of both worlds with this type of training. You just have to be careful with it. So here's a kind of example that you could think about with a treadmill. I know a lot of us use treadmills, and if you have any type of knee pain and you're kind of worried about it or anything, incline may be better for that, but then you just kind of have to play with it to find out. So something I want to point out is that a brisk walk should feel like a 5 out of 10. Let me see on the right, it shows that a brisk walk. It should be like a 5 out of 10 on that RPE scale, that rate of perceived exertion scale. And when you're walking as fast as you can, you still want to stay within that 7 to 8 intensity range. In terms of like 7 to 8 out of 10 on that RPE scale. But yeah, you can also use this kind of elliptical. Yeah, so I'm going to go through and explain all the different kinds, because there are tons of different intervals you can use on tons of different machines. Intervals can be used anywhere. You can even use it when you're walking outside. So, when you're walking outside, maybe with your dog or whatever, you can walk slow for a minute and then speed walk for 30 seconds. It's so variable, and you can customize it to yourself. And it's really important to play around with it and find what works for you. That's the most important thing. With elliptical, you can do the same thing. So you can, I'll explain later on about the resistance and everything. But you can use it for an elliptical. So say your work period will be for 10 seconds or something, and your recovery will be for 30. So you'll just go at a slower pace on that recovery interval time. But you're going to boost up your speed on that work period. And I'll explain later on, as I have a thing to go with that. Okay. So if you are into running, you can use this, like I said, outside. So kind of play with it, really. You do want to have a longer recovery period, especially if you're kind of just getting into it. If you are advanced, you might want a longer work period, but you want to see what works for you. And if you're at a track, a good way to kind of do it without even knowing is to just walk around that short part, the bend of the track, and then run slash jog the straightaway part. But if that's too difficult, you can switch it around. So you run around the bend and then just walk the straightaway part of the track. And that is in itself is a form of interval training. Oh, I got really cut off. But um, so like I said, it can be used with the elliptical there, bike, and the rowing machine. So all I was saying with, I wish you could see a little better, but the watts or stroke rate and strides per minute and revolutions per minute is basically the speed on the bike, and it shows if you pedal faster, your strides per minute will increase, and so will your watts or stroke rate. So that is the speed basically. Um, with these kind of exercises, you don't want a resistance that is too difficult. So if you're biking, you don't want to up the level too much to the point where you're going slowly. You want a decent resistance, but you want to focus more on your speed. So when you're, say, on the elliptical, you don't, like I said, you don't want a resistance that's too difficult. But when it's time for that work interval, you want to up that speed. So you really want to just focus on those strides per minute on that elliptical, not so much the resistance. Once you find like a good zone for yourself, the aim should be to eventually increase the resistance over time. But you want to keep that speed constant. So if you're doing, just, I don't know, throwing it out there, say you're doing 80 strides per minute, you want to keep that 80 strides per minute, and it's hard for you. You want to keep that 80 strides per minute while steadily increasing the resistance over time. But you really want to focus on that number, those 80 strides per minute. Does anyone have any questions about that? I know it can be a lot. I would just recommend looking at the watts and strides per minute and all of that to base your progress off of that instead of the resistance. We got too caught up in the resistance, I feel. This can also be used with swimming too. If you prefer to swim, you can do one straightaway of a quick swim and then a full lap back and forth on like a low intensity. So you can use this for anything. I just really want to drive the point home that it can be completely customized for yourself, and as long as you're comfortable with it and it feels good, then do what works for you. And if you like playing sports, they can also be a form of interval training. So for example, with basketball, there's a lot of time they're walking and they're not running the whole time, but then out of nowhere, someone gets a rebound and then they have to run the whole length of the court sprinting. And then they relax and they walk. So it goes on and off, and that kind of upping the intensity and slowing down the intensity is exactly what interval training is. You're having these intervals of fast, slow, fast, slow, fast, slow, cyclical fashion, and that's what interval training is. This really got cut off. So the benefits of interval training, I'm just gonna go through all of them. There are a lot of studies to show you guys, just so you know I'm not lying to you. So like I said, with preserving the muscle, when we do too much cardio, if we do too much easy cardio, we tend to lose some muscle or just maintain, because there's not that much power that you are generating. When you are demanding so much power from your body, like in a sprint, you're demanding so much, you're going to tend to build more muscle. And as for fat loss, like we said, that afterburn effect is really where you're going to burn more calories about 2 hours after the exercise. So studies show that just 15 minutes of high-intensity interval training burns more calories than jogging on a treadmill for an hour. That's even more than half, but that is just one study. But like I said, it will be just as effective as double the time with steady state. So you can actually just cut your time in half and still get those fat loss and preserving muscle benefits. Another one is improving your VO2 max. So VO2 max is your efficiency with oxygen and basically how efficient your cardiovascular system is. And one study found that 5 weeks of interval training workouts performed 4 days per week for 20 minutes of each session improved oxygen consumption by 9%, which was identical to the improvement in the other study who cycled continuously for double the amount of time. So again, it improves your VO2 just as much as steady state cardio. And as for diabetes, so it was also shown to increase insulin sensitivity in half the time as moderate activity. And an interesting one was how it increases heart function. So PT/exercise physiologist Scott Weiss said that interval training increases the flexibility and elasticity of arteries and veins better than continuous aerobic exercise. So because interval training increases pressure demand on your blood vessels, the heart will actually get a workout. So like I said, your muscles are demanding so much, your brain is demanding so much from your muscles, so they have to fire so violently or hard that all those vessels are bringing that blood to the muscle, and it's a fast process that really works on strengthening that heart and those vessels as well. And when they did a study with interval training on a bike machine, they saw the average systolic pressure go from 145 to 118.3. So they went from the hypertensive zone to the normal zone in 24 weeks of interval training. And so boost metabolism also. Like I said, with that afterburn effect, you're going to have a higher metabolism 2 hours post exercise. So this is actually causes a higher increase in metabolism than jogging and weight training. And they showed that in two studies. Another study showed that just 2 minutes of high intensity interval training in the form of sprints increased metabolism over 24 hours as much as 30 minutes of running. So that fast, intense, not even fast, but that very intense exercise will have better results for metabolism and the heart than steady state cardio. So here's some safety precautions that I really want to go over. So just really focus on how your body feels and don't get too caught up in, oh, you have to spend this much time in the work range. You really just want to listen to yourself and never go past that max heart rate. Like I said before, you want to have a nice warm up, cool down, and stretch. And if you feel like this could be a problem for you, I would absolutely recommend speaking to your doctor or exercise physiologist before trying out. And they could even have the exercise physiologist could even make a little plan for you if you'd like. And definitely stay hydrated before and after the exercise. It takes a lot of energy, it takes a lot of fluids. And if you're lightheaded, obviously please stop because it can take a lot out of you. And don't eat right before the exercise. I'd probably eat an hour before. You don't want to make that mistake of eating right before and feeling nauseous halfway through. I've done it before and it's brutal. And remember that no pain, no gain phrase never applies. So if you feel any sort of pain, please stop right away. Next, I want to talk about circuit training. So it's a variation of interval training. So it's similar to interval training where you have a cycle of exercise, but with circuit training you have different exercises per cycle. So it can be performed with body weights or weights. As you can see in the picture, you might be doing a plank 1 second, then you're going to do a crunch, and you can vary it, and I'll go through all of that. But the big advantage of this is that you burn more calories compared to just normal resistance training because it's constant. There's not much rest in between, so it's very fast paced, and it really is the best of both worlds, just like interval training, because you're able to build that muscle while getting those cardio benefits with it. So that's why they kind of intertwine. And like I was saying, it's really just that the circuit training going to be performing different exercises, but that interval training is really just one exercise. So for interval training, you're going to do the bike for a certain the whole time. Circuit training, you might be doing squats to push-ups to deadlifts to blah blah blah. More focused on building muscle and different kinds of exercises. But both have rest and work intervals. That's the main thing. Here's a kind of example to look at. Just like interval training, these are all customizable for everyone. So if you don't like an exercise on here, and I'm going to have more exercises as well, we're going to go more into that. But you can really switch any kinds of these exercises that you'll see later on, just modify to what you want, and just you can kind of make your own at the end. So, oh, this really got cut off. Um, so for the circuit training example, I'll just explain. You're going to perform each exercise for 30 seconds. There's going to be a 10-second transition time in between each exercise. And after every cycle, you're going to take a 2-minute break. So, I should have it. But there are 8 exercises on here, and it might show better on that handout down there at the bottom of the screen, right hand screen, where it says examples, circuit training. It should come out correct there. But it's going to start with jumping jacks. It's going to go to wall sit, push up, abdominal crunch, run in place, squat, tricep kickback, and plank. And you're going to perform each exercise for 30 seconds. You're going to have a 10-second transition time in between each exercise, and then you're going to take a 2-minute break at the end of everything. And you're going to try to go through 2 to 3 times, but again, you just got to find what works for you. And if it's too much, you can cut it down. These are kind of just examples. I don't want to get too caught up and you have to do this. It's not cookie cutter. You got to find out what works for you, and you can adjust it, which is the cool thing about it. And then, so here's a better example of it, of kind of a template for you to go off of. This is from ACSM and trying to make your own circuit training routine. So you want to go in this order of total body, lower body, upper body, core, and you repeat that. So then the last four is total body, lower body, upper body, core. And so it's also in the handout as well because it's kind of hard to see. But you just really want to pick your favorite exercises and roll with it. But you also don't want to have the same exercises in the same cycle. So say you pick skipping for that first total body workout. For that next total body workout at the bottom there, you could put something like running in place. You don't want repetitive exercises too much because you want to. The best thing about it is that you can work other parts of the muscle in the same workout. So you're not just. So for example, I can explain that more. So with leg press, it's mainly a quad exercise on the front of the leg. So for that next lower body cycle, that next part, you might want to try something like the hamstring or the glute. You don't want to be too focused on that quad. This can also be shown for core. So say you do crunches the first time. You're really only working the top of the abdominals, and you're not even working the obliques or the bottom. So for that next core cycle, you might want to do Russian twists or bicycle because you're doing more of a abdominal workout there. So anyone have any questions about these exercises or the template? Okay. Another thing is don't make it too difficult and don't make it too easy. You want to find that right point. You can also use your target heart rate to find out if you need to push yourself a little more, if it's too easy. So again, just see what works for you and pick your favorite exercises. And again, these are all in the handout to make it easier to see and print it out and do whatever you want with them. So it's also hard to see. But what kind of classes should you take, or what kind of classes have these kind of principles of interval training and circuit training? Body pump's a pretty good one. It uses circuit training because you're going from different exercise to different exercise. It also has music, keeps everyone motivated a little more. Body attack, same thing. Training for Warriors is one in Greensboro that I've been to. I enjoyed it. It's a group exercise class, and the teacher is really good there. She explains every exercise very well, and it's a circuit training, but it also focuses. You do some weight stuff, but you also do some cardio stuff. So it's really good circuit that she has. Spin class even. Spin class has intervals where you pedal really hard. You're biking up that hill, they say, and then when you're relaxing, you're just doing a straight bike. So that's how they incorporate intervals into their class. And something called fitnessblender.com. That F is chopped off, but it's a great class where a great website where you can just click on what you want to do, and they have examples, and just they show how to do each exercise, and it can really help you from the comfort of your home. You don't have to go to a gym for that, and it's really easy, really, really easy. Another thing, if you go to Planet Fitness, is they have that circuit. I believe it's like 30 minutes, but they have a pretty good circuit of all the machines, and I believe they tell you how long you should be at each machine. You might need to check up on that. But I know a lot of people go to Planet Fitness, and that's a good circuit to do. Just make sure you're at a decently challenging weight, and if it says to do a certain amount, a specific amount of time, you want to make sure that the weight is difficult enough so you're not just busting out reps, but it is challenging still. And see what your gym has to offer. So most gyms have classes. I know YMCA definitely does. Just you can ask around, see if they have any. They might know what they probably will know what interval training is. People at the front desk or whatever. So you can ask them, see if they have any suggestions or anything. I'm not sure. But yeah, they should. But basically, just see what you can do and try to implement it if you can. You don't have to just do only interval training and circuit training. You can add it in with your moderate activity. You can add it in with your weight training. You can just do it once a week with everything else. It's just a really good way to switch it up. And like if you're getting bored, I know I love some sprints or some circuit training just because I get bored sometimes with the same routine. And you might feel even better after doing some of these exercises than you normally would. So just kind of play with it and see what works for you is my best advice for this. Any questions for you guys? Anything I can clear up? Any kind of maybe heart rate questions or circuit training questions at all? And I said all these handouts are below in the bottom right corner, even the slides. So I know it's hard to see, a lot of things were chopped off, but hopefully those aren't chopped off either and you can access them pretty easily. No questions? Okay, so this will also be available later on if you want to come back to it. Thank you guys for listening. Oh, wow, my bad. Guys, one more thing. So the 3 most common barriers to exercise is the lack of time, lack of energy, lack of motivation. I'm sure we've all felt that sometime, but there's just so many reasons to do these kind of exercise. Like the lack of time. It's a very short exercise that can be done in less than 20 minutes. It's really quick. You can be in and out, and you can feel accomplished in such a short amount of time. That lack of energy, you'll feel way more energized after. You'll feel way better after. You might be tired, but mentally you'll be there, and you'll feel those endorphins kick in. So if you struggle with energy, try completing it at the time where you're most energetic. So if you're a morning person, do it in the morning. Motivation. With all the benefits that has been shown to have, I believe that's plenty of motivation for everyone to continue or at least try it out. See if you like it. And if you do like it, just know that the benefits are extremely powerful and will help you in the long term. So now, thank you guys for listening. I hope you guys learned something at least. If you have any questions, you can email me anytime. Yeah, I hope you guys learned something. You can maybe utilize it in your workouts a little bit. Any questions? Any final questions?